Okay, so I told the kids in some of the grades that I was going to create a lesson for finger weaving. And so this is finger weaving. I'm going to show how to start it, continue, and end it. So the ending will be in a separate video because I'll have to get a little bit done. But this, you can use different yarn. It doesn't really matter what you use. There's thin yarn. This is like multicolored yarn. I've also been telling them, like Walmart has their, I think it's Mainstays yarn. These are $3. You can get more expensive yarn. I know Hobby Lobby has great deals on yarn too. And you just want to be, this is a skein of yarn. So anytime you have like a roll of it, that's what it's called. And then some people like take off this paper part. And I always did that before I knew. And there is like an end underneath here. But the correct way actually is there's an end to one of the sides of the yarn. And sometimes you kind of have to dig around a little bit, but a lot of times it's already sticking out, and that's the perfect place to start. So I'm just going to use the multicolored yarn because I actually like how this shows the differentiation in color. So I'm going to actually do 4 finger weaving for this, but once you get this down, you can kind of experiment, or you can look online and look for some 2 finger weaving, 3 finger weaving, whatever you want to try. Some of the grades have been doing straw weaving. You can also change up the numbers of straws and that kind of thing too. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the end of whatever yarn you're using and you're going to kind of make a loop. And then all I'm going to do is knot the loop. And I just want to make a little circle at the end of it for my thumb. Okay, and then I'm just going to put that on my thumb. I'm gonna kind of make it a little closer. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do a pattern around my fingers, kind of like I'm weaving with my fingers at first. So I'm gonna go over, under, and then I'm gonna go back around. Over, under, okay? So now I should have one in front of each of my fingers, and then if I flip it over, I'm also gonna have one in front of each of my fingers this way too, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go across this way, and then I'm going to go 1 finger at a time. So if you notice right now, those loops are down on the bottom of my fingers, and sometimes that makes it a little bit challenging to get your finger back through that loop. So at some point, if it's easier, you can kind of scooch them up a little bit and kind of keep them on your knuckles, and sometimes that's a little bit easier, okay? So now I've got the working string. So the working string is what's coming from the skein. That is over on this side now, okay? So I kind of tighten it up a little bit, but not too tight. Then I'm gonna go across this way, and then I'm gonna loop over. And you're literally just gonna keep doing this, okay? And then I'm here. This guy sometimes gets in the way, but just ignore it. And then I'm over here, so I'm gonna loop back. Now, we talked about at the beginning, I'm just gonna kind of talk through while I'm kind of trying to make this a little bit longer. We talked at the beginning about different yarns. So some of the different yarns have different weight to them. So sometimes you can get like the real thick yarn. You probably don't want to go with the super thick yarn, but sometimes you can get like fluffier yarn. See how it's starting to make this kind of pattern back here? And you can try, you know, thinner is probably going to be harder than just like normal. This is just like normal weighted yarn. So you just want something fairly normal, but you can kind of experiment with those things too. Actually, I made yarn a couple of years ago out of t-shirts, like old recycled t-shirts. So you could kind of try that too. That would be an idea. Those would be things you would have around the house and see how that goes. Do you see how it keeps going over my pinky? So sometimes when it starts going up too high, you can kind of use your other fingers and scooch it down. But you do want to make sure that loop goes over each one. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pause here, and then I'm gonna show you once I get farther down how to finish it off.